So, welcome.
Still don't know why these specters randomly get.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm currently leveling an artifact,
Yes, welcome to the podcast.
and it sucks. Okay.
Oh no, that's not terrible.
And it
That's
sucks.
not terrible.
And it sucks. Okay. Moving on.
That's not terrible.
Moving on. It
there
sucks.
are
Moving
look,
on.
There are
It
teams
sucks.
where attack percent matters because Bennett's not on them.
It sucks. There's no crit rate in it. It sucks. It's trash. It goes in the garbage. I'm
Lol.
feeding it to a hat.
Lol. L-O furthermore L.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay. Well, I'ma go teleport to the start of our route as per usual.
Hold on. I gotta just do this real quick so I can show everybody how much I love my my Bennett team. Of course, I don't get the double buffs at the front, so this is gonna kind of suck a little bit too. So you position him here so that when he runs into the wall, he just stays where he's at.
Move.
And then you can sit here and go like this, and then you basically just pop over into this guy, take him real quick, and they're dead.
Yep. Easy.
Fastest I've ever gotten, I think, was like 29 seconds.
29 seconds? Yeah,
No,
sounds
you know,
about
I
right.
think it was 27. I feel like I'm
27 also sounds right.
I feel like I'm the guy with the fish that's just like it was this big. No, but it was this big. But it was this big.
Jinx says furthermore a lot, doesn't he? I also say however and caveat a lot.
Dude, we need to make some shirts that are just L-O furthermore L.
L.
Oh,
Man,
we
ever
need
since you
caveats
brought
and
that
however.
Ever
Those
since
are
you
three
brought
shirts we
that
need to
up,
make.
I have become like uncomfortably aware of me saying that specific phrase. Like, it reminded me of when I was at work this one time. Some random guest was like, "You have a lot of confidence in your walk. Like, you walk with a lot of confidence." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And then for the rest of the shift, I was uncomfortably aware of how I was walking.
Yeah. No, that reminds me of like when I was sitting there, I was having an employee fill out a form, and I put my
only level 4. The fuck?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
And I was like showing I had like my hands on the table while I was waiting for her to sign this thing.
Yeah.
I was leaning over onto my palms, and she's like, "The nurses must love you." Like, what? It's like, your veins on your arms are huge. I'm like, I like folded my arms.
Lol. Yup. L-O furthermore L. All right. Let me. Where's my friends list? Let's join the tuner. Okay. I mean, I guess first thing we should talk about though should probably just be going over like Raiden stuff because
Yeah. No. Okay. So for those who aren't
yeah.
aware, we already talked about Raiden.
Yeah, we already did a podcast last week about Raiden.
And I miscommunicated, or I didn't communicate with Jinx. I thought he had already downloaded the VOD of the podcast, and I was like, okay, well, I can delete it now. And he goes like, he messages me like 2 days later. It's like,
yeah.
Where's the podcast? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so Tuner accidentally deleted said podcast, and here we are. We have to talk about Raiden again.
We have to make all the same jokes.
We have to make all the same jokes again. I mean, on the plus side, last time I didn't have Raiden yet, and then like a day or two after we did that podcast about Raiden, I drunkenly did a 10 poll and got Raiden, so now I actually have some actual experience playing her.
You might need to say that again. We just got a sub. You what?
Huh? 1 sec. Hey boo, we podcasting. Sorry, Jenny just got home, so I was saying hello and kissing her.
Cute.
Jenny says hi YouTube, hi Twitch.
Cute.
But yeah, now that I have Raiden, I've actually gone to like play around with her, and she's definitely fun. I will definitely say she's fun, but also the more I play around with her, the more painfully I am aware of her issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are even harder to ignore when I'm actually playing her and not just looking at like testing runs or like not looking at just like testing runs or seeing, you know, math done on her and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of her issues, let's talk about them.
So issues, the biggest one that everybody has a huge biggest problem is she doesn't work with Beidou.
With Beidou.
Or Electro MC.
Yeah, which I do think is a big problem. Largely because that like we have since discovered there is a team that she improves, right?
Yeah.
Like there is what we all talk about it, but there is one team she improves, and like she is undeniably an improvement for, and she is a best in slot pick for. Like
Yep.
she is an improvement over 4 stars for. Other than that team though, the only other team she would realistically be a hard improvement for is a Beidou team, and she can't do that. And
Yep.
then there's the bigger issue of like, you know, people expected her to work with Beidou, and she didn't, and so the first day pullers basically got fucking shat on by Mihoyo.
Right.
Which, you know, is a thing that I have sympathy for, but only to an extent.
Yeah.
Because first day pullers.
And
mean,
I've already told you my piece on this.
Yeah.
Call me callous if you want, but I don't think anybody should be polling any character first day unless it's
Yeah,
your
see,
job to make content on it, like
Yeah.
you know our channel used to be, or however many other channels that possibly exist. And if you're watching this on YouTube, that means you probably are watching other YouTubers. Why not just wait one day, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Well, realistically, more like 2-ish hours.
Well,
if
I mean,
you're not
okay, like,
watching,
if-
like live streams.
Yeah,
of
like
the
watching a
testing.
live stream or something. But it's like, why do you need to poll the second the banner's coming up? There's
Yeah, like-
nothing making you do that, and it's
You don't lose
only a
anything
risk.
for it.
It's only a
but-
risk.
Yeah. At most, what you're losing is you're losing like 2 hours of time playing on that character.
Yeah.
So like that is a thing. However, I do have sympathy because I do agree that what Mihoyo did was scummy.
I can agree it's
like,
scummy.
Yeah,
But-
I think that what Mihoyo did is scummy because there was never like we had the ability to suspect their interaction may work, but we never had any form of confirmation until people did testing.
Yeah.
Like we had reason to suspect it because like I mean even in the 2.1 special program thing, they did talk about how it converts her damage to elemental burst damage in her ult. And as Mihoyo later described in a post, attacks that how like Beidou's ult and Skyward Spine's passive and Electro MC's ult works is that it requires you to basically deal a normal attack damage type. And she doesn't have a normal attack damage type in there. The problem is that until they made that post, the idea of a normal attack damage type or those abilities requiring normal attack damage was never explicitly stated. If you look at
Burning everything.
Beidou's,
Now I'm burning.
if you look at Beidou's ult, like if you look at the wording of her ult, it never mentions normal attack damage. It says when a normal attack hits. It's the same with MC's ult. It's the same with Skyward Spine. It never says when you deal like normal attack damage. It says when the normal attack hits. And a thing that further damns this is something I posted on Twitter about recently, which is that I tested it and dealing 0 damage with immune attack still triggers Beidou's ult. So like hitting water slimes with Mona's normal attack or cryo slimes with Ayaka's cryo infused attacks and dealing immunes, so you're dealing 0 damage, still triggers Beidou's ult. So that's why we know it's not necessarily dealing normal attack damage, it's dealing a normal attack damage type, which again is further extrapolation we had to make past the official statements they gave us. Like, they have never been clear about it. And they continue to not be clear about it, so I get why people are pissed about it. Because the only reason in the post they explicitly stated Skyward Spine doesn't work. They did not explicitly state Beidou didn't work. And the only reason they could possibly do that is because they didn't want to discourage people from pulling.
Yeah.
Even though they knew the interaction didn't work. So like, I 100% agree it's scummy. Like, what they did was scummy, and I can't think of any argument that isn't them intentionally misleading us on that point.
Like I said, I know
at the same
it's
time, I agree with Tuner. No one should be pulling day one, and if you're pulling day one before seeing any kind of testing, like you kind of have to accept that this is how it happened.
And-
Like, just
and-
don't pull day one, guys.
Well, it's like, and this isn't the first time. If this was like, you know, Zhang Li, right? And it was
Yeah.
like, oh well, they've never steered us wrong before. Okay, well, you know, sure, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You touched the stove once. Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you touching the stove again?
Yeah. Yep. Yup. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing, like, I don't agree with what Mihoyo did. I do think it was scummy. I do think the way they handled this has been shitty, and I do think that Raiden should work with Beidou, not just from a power level perspective, but it seems it's incredibly out of character for the Electro Archon to literally not work with any other Electro units.
Well, no,
but-
I already again.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't work with Beidou and MC because she's mad that they snuck into Inazuma.
Lol. There you go. There's your lore reason.
That's
for
the lore
it.
reason.
Anyway, that whole drama aside, because you know that's been fucking drama on YouTube and Twitter and Reddit and Geo and shit, like since like the character came out.
Yeah.
From an actual power level perspective, Raiden's below average. He's like without C2. C2 is a whole different story. C2 increases her personal damage output by like close to 40%. So C2 is, and that's another kind of scummy thing, is locking so much of her power behind C2. Because like they already kind of did that with Hu Tao, where Hu Tao C1 is so powerful, and it kind of there's a good argument for people who care about like power level to pull for C1. And with Raiden, there's even an argument that C2 might be worth going for because of how huge a spike in power it is for her. Like, relative to other constellation pulls, it's one of the most value in the game. Not saying you should pull for C2, I'm just saying from a value perspective, it's one of the strongest constellations in the game. But Raiden's okay. Raiden's okay. To talk about like the reasons why she's only okay, because in theory her kit seems great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's a universal battery for teammates. She does decent damage during her 7-second field time with her ult. She is also a very good electro battery if you know she works well with electro units because she generates about as much energy as Fischl does from her E. She gives your teammates an ult damage bonus on top of that. Like her kit seems really solid. Like, you know, an argument I've been seeing a lot is like, you know, what other character does all these things? She's broken. The problem is that specific argument looks only at her strengths and not at her weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the strengths she gives a team are plenty. She gives a lot. She provides a lot for your team. The problem is you also have to see what her weaknesses are, and the biggest weakness is her field time.
Yeah.
Between her
extending the field time.
Yeah, extending field time. So like, the issue is that she takes up like carry level field time as a support, which generally leads to longer rotations, which lowers team DPS.
Mm-hmm.
Because like her ult is 7 seconds of like attacking once you have the buff, is about 2 seconds of cast time, and then you have about 1 second of cast time on your E. So she's taking 9 to 10 seconds per rotation to do her shit, right?
Right.
Like it takes her about 9 to 10 seconds to do her shit. So for reference, when you run a Hu Tao carry team, Hu Tao was taking up like 11 seconds of field time, and she's the carry on the team. So like 9 to 10 seconds is a lot of time.
Yeah, most of the damage is coming from her.
Yeah. And so like that's the thing you have to realize is that outside of one specific team that we'll be talking about that she is an improvement for, the reason why Raiden ends up being at best a side grade, if not a downgrade to a C0 Fischl or Sucrose taking Raiden's place in team comps, is because she extends your team's rotation time. So, for example, if we take like, what's a comp we could run them in? Let's say we take like a Eula team, right?
Right.
If we take a Eula team, if you run like the traditional Eula team, which is triple cryo Eula with like a Fischl, your rotation takes 20 seconds, because that's how long Eula's ult cooldown is. Like, as long as you're making sure that Eula's ult is coming up every time, because you're running triple cryo and she has enough ER, like, you got a 20-second rotation.
Mm-hmm.
When you stick Raiden in there, let's say, I don't know the exact amounts, because I haven't looked at all the rotation calcs, I've just seen the conclusions. But let's say like running her instead of Fischl there increases your total rotation time to like 24 seconds, right?
Right.
So, like, because Raiden has to also take up 10 seconds of field time, it takes Eula 24 seconds per ult instead of 20 seconds.
Right.
That means the Raiden Eula team, instead of the Raiden Fischl team, now has to deal
20%.
20% more total damage per Eula ult, like full team damage, to match the damage because you added an extra 20% time, or an extra 20% time to your rotation.
And for those of you who don't, I mean, just listening to numbers and don't understand where the numbers come from, is because 4 seconds is 20% of 20 seconds, and because you're adding those 4 seconds, you are increasing the time by 20%. So just in case.
And like you have to remember, DPS is damage per second.
Yep.
Not like there's a difference between damage per rotation, which is what most people.
No, I thought
focus on
DPS
with
was damage
Raiden.
per screenshot, Jinx.
Also damage per screenshot, which also people focus on Raiden because a C2 plus Raiden is so good at hitting like fucking like 1 million Qs and shit like that. But yeah, like that. It's like you have to remember DPS is damage per second. That means if you extend the amount of time it takes for the damage to come out, the DPS goes down. So, for example, let's say you have like a 20-second rotation, right, with like the Eula official team.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say theoretically you deal exactly 1 million damage over that 20 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you deal exactly 1 million damage over 20 seconds, then that means your total DPS is 50,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
You deal 50,000 damage every second on average over those 20 seconds. However, if you now increase that to 24 seconds, like let's say you had that as 24 seconds instead, then you then over that same period of time, you'd be dealing 20% less damage. So to match that, you have to deal 60,000 damage per sec. You have to deal 60,000 damage. Oh, sorry. In order to hit that same 50,000 DPS, you now have to deal 20% more than the total 1 million damage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So to hit the same target goal of 50,000 DPS, you now have to be dealing 1.2 million damage to match.
Mm-hmm.
If you still deal the same 1 million damage, or even 1 million and 1.1 million damage over 24 seconds, you've still got lower DPS than the 20-second rotation team does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people who don't understand DPS calcs don't understand about Raiden, because Raiden very well may make their teams deal more damage per rotation. Like every rotation of you popping your ults and doing your elemental skills and doing some normal attacks and stuff, your Raiden team does more damage, but it does so over a longer period of time. And so in terms of actual DPS, you're going down in DPS.
It does it over a longer period of time.
A longer period of time. Over a longer period of time. So like, yeah, that's Raiden's big issue, is that in basically every comp you can run her in right now, with one exception, she is increasing the amount of the rotation time. This is also still true with Eula teams. And so that's decreasing the DPS of her team. You're doing less damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why even though Raiden theoretically deals the same amount of damage as the C0 official, but also bats your team more and provides an ult damage bonus to your team, and therefore should be an upgrade official in every way, is not, because she also has her weakness, which is increasing field time. And that balances her out to basically being mostly a side grade official in most team comps.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, boo. But yeah, so same thing with her replacing Sucrose in other teams, like running her in like a Beidou Taser team or something like that.
So I wish
In fact, it's even
Kaching
worse
had like an 80 cost ult.
Yeah,
I feel like she just doesn't need. Cause I was like, oh, I could use Raiden Kaching, but like you don't need that much energy.
Yeah, so that comes to the other problem, right?
Right.
The other problem is that, to compensate for this lack of this like field time increase, the bonuses she gives your team have to be worth it. The problem is if your unit isn't an 80 cost ult unit, they don't really need Raiden.
Yeah.
Like even 60 cost units generally don't have much trouble getting their ult up, so like the benefit that Raiden gives them is like not necessarily good enough. Yeah. Especially since Raiden can screw with your reactions because she's Electro. So like, that's the problem with running her like in a Hu Tao team. Not only does she like if you run her as the 4th unit in the Hu Tao team, her, Jingqiu, Hu Tao, and then like a 4th unit, whoever you fucking want as a healer, Sayu or whatever. Sayu or fucking Bennett even, or Diona is generally the pick because shield is nice and occasionally get melts. Like she'll be messing with some of your vaporize interactions on top of also increasing the field time of that team, because now Hu Tao needs 11 seconds, and then Raiden needs 10 seconds, and then Jingqiu needs like 4 seconds. You're going from like a 20 to 22 second rotation to like a 26 plus a rotation.
Yeah.
just because there's increased field time. I think that's what that's like a lot of people talk about. Oh, well, just run her in the team where she like can gap fill the team, and the problem you don't realize is that Raiden overfills gap filling in teams.
Yeah, and it's
Like
not like Eula
she
where
requires it. Like it's not like you can just bring her out for 6 seconds. You need to bring her out for all 10 seconds to get her value.
yeah, and it's not like Eula or C4 Klee where it's like, okay, well I've gap filled long enough, let me end early.
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah.
a bonus for it.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
just doesn't get value.
In order for her to get like her value, she needs to be on field for at the bare minimum like 7 to 8 seconds, because that's the fastest you can get all of her energy gen off of her ult. Like you don't have to be there for the last 2-ish seconds of her ult, as long as you're like more close to 1.5 seconds, because she can only trigger the energy regen 5 times during her 7-second ult with a 1-second cooldown, right? So like at best you can cut her off that. You can cut her off short, like 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. But yeah, she overfills the time too badly. And so like that leads to the issue where like she also doesn't really give you that much energy. Like a Raiden with like 250 ER, which is pretty reasonable to get with an ER weapon, and like like decent then a decent set, right? Some ER subs. 250 Raiden with like talent 10 gives you, how much is it? It's like 23 or something energy. Something like that. One sec. It is 250 times 6. And then it's, how much does she give you exactly again per points? Fuck, I had this like calced out and then I fucking forgot to save the calc. Point is, she gives you like 20 to 25 energy, though. She gives you like 20 to 25 energy, which is like, it's a decent amount, but it's not really that much, and it's not affected by your teammate's ER. Like, it's flat energy, right? Like, your teammate having over 100% ER does not increase the energy her ult gives you. Let's see here. It is at talent 9. It is 2.4 energy per hit, and then that's increased by a further 0.6%. So 150 times 0.6 is an additional 90% increase to that. So it's 2.4 times 1.9 times 5. Yeah, 22.8. So at 250 ER, talent level 9 ult, she is giving back 22.8 energy to each of your teammates. So 23. That's still like barely over a quarter of the energy for an 80 cost ult unit, right? So for like Xiangling, you still need a Bennett. Like you still need a Bennett to fill up the rest of the gap that Raiden is giving to your Xiangling. And it's honestly a bit too much for 60 cost ults, because 60 cost ults tend to not be that short of popping off of cooldown with like just a little extra energy from teammates and HP particles.
Assuming so, like, you're not running like really low energy regen supports like a Kaya or.
Well, Kaya's actually pretty high energy, but
he's got like a 2 PP.
2 particle per, so it ends up being around.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is like Rosaria does more.
I think he's like 24 ppm, and it spikes up to like over 30 if he's on a freeze team.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Zajeff says hi.
Hi, Zajeff. But yeah, like that's the thing with Raiden, and like her being a side grade isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like she's not Yoimiya, where Yoimiya is a straight is a straight downgrade to 4 stars like Yan Fei. Like we're not gonna compare Pyros to Xiangling, because Xiangling's a fucking anomaly. Because if you have a build enough Xiangling, that's kind of not a good reason to pull for any Pyro DPS, except arguably Hu Tao, because she's Bennettless, but like that's the only reason. But even compared to like Yan Fei, like Yoimiya is falling short in a lot of cases. So like Yan Fei is like easier to play, but a like DPS downgrade from like average, well, but maybe slightly above average 4-star units and Raiden is like not worse than Fischl and Sucrose at C0 in most of her comps. She's just a side. Like, they're like she's a side grade, you know, over Fischl. She's always gonna have more AoE than Fischl. But Fischl with constellations has better single target. She's gonna buff up your teammates' damage. But also that requires your other teammates to be built and for the damage to matter. Versus Fischl basically being able to carry like certain teams on her back, and being like one of the main one or two people actually invested on your team. They're side grades. Now, the one exception to that we keep alluding to is the Raiden overvape, or what some people have been calling Raiden national team, where you run her with literally the 3 best supports in the game.
Yeah. At which point, you know,
your other team's kind of fucked unless you can make a Morgana team.
Yeah.
But you literally run her with the 3 literal best supports in the game, who also happen to just work with her the best.
Yeah.
That's Xiangling, Jingqiu, and Bennett.
Yeah.
So Jingqiu and Xiangling both work really well with Raiden because they ignore her problem, which is her field time requirement, because they both don't need a lot.
Right.
They're both off-field sub-DPSs, right?
Right.
Xiangling spends like 3 seconds popping Q and E. Jingqiu spends like 4 to 5 seconds popping either, you know, EQ or QEE or whatever. Like, Raiden can take the rest of the field time. No one gives a shit.
Right.
But
now,
then
are we still
also,
running Sack Sword on Xingqiu, or is it?
You don't have to.
You don't have to?
That's one of the advantages that we'll get to. Is that you don't even necessarily have to run Sack Sword on Jingqiu, although you probably should still be, because 4-star aren't really much of an upgrade.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, you still have to run Bennett because Raiden cannot battery Xiangling by herself. Raiden cannot provide enough energy for Xiangling. You have to still have a Bennett. And then on top of that, like, if you're running Xiangling, you want Bennett anyway, because Snapshot, ult, and, you know, Bennett make Xiangling do big number and shit anyway.
Yeah.
But in that team, like, the previous best version of that team is with a Sucrose instead of a Raiden, right?
Right.
And calcs are putting it anywhere from about 15 to 20% DPS increase. Now, that's significant. Like, that's a big increase.
Yeah.
This is a very, very strong team.
Right.
This is a very, very strong team. However, it's the only team where Raiden is like a noticeable upgrade from a 4-star option.
I'm gonna pull a Homer Simpson here. It's the only team so far.
So far,
I
exactly.
do think that Raiden is basically an answer to a problem we don't have yet.
Exactly. That is 100% true, because like the value she provides is really valuable, specifically to 80 cost off-field sub DPSs that do a lot of outputs.
Right.
And which ones of those do we have right now?
Kaya.
Jingqiu. Well, no, 80 cost. Like 80 cost
Kaya?
very high sub DPS output off-field is Jingqiu, Xiangling, and Beidou. That's it.
Oh wait, no, it's Rosaria's 80.
Is
Right.
Rosaria 80?
Rosaria's 80, 100%.
Either way, Rosaria's ult is not nearly on the same level. No, Rosaria's 60 as well. Yeah, she's a 60 cost. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, like those are the only 3 80 cost off-field big chunks of like really powerful Q, really powerful ult characters.
Mhm.
And she works really well with them, except, you know, she can't work with Beidou because interaction reason.
Mm.
So in theory, when more 80 costs really powerful ults off-field sub DPS units like your Xianglings and Jingqius and Beidous come out,
And Jean.
Raiden will probably work really well with them.
And Jean.
Jean's ult is not very strong.
What?
No, I mean, that's the thing. There are a lot of 80 cost units, but the 3 I mentioned are the only 3 whose ults do like stupendous, in some cases higher than your carries.
What about
damage
Lisa?
output.
What about Lisa?
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, that. But yeah, like you said, Raiden is a solution to a problem we don't have right now, because there's only 3 units who have the problem she needs, and one of the only teams she's good on, or she is like her best team, and the only team she's an improvement over 4 stars on, is one that runs 2 of those units.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3rd unit, she literally doesn't work with.
Yeah.
Because like, I guess the thing we haven't necessarily talked about specifically yet is the whole, oh, well, can't you just, like, use Beto's ult, then use Raiden's ult after it runs out? And that's, like, the biggest example of the issue we talked about where she extends field time. Because now you need 15 seconds for Beto's ult to run out, plus, like, 2 seconds of EQ cast time. So that's 17 seconds,
and then what do you?
And then 10 seconds of Raiden ult, so you're going from a 20-second rotation on Beidou to a 27+ rotation. Like, holy shit.
And then like, what team are you using this as like?
I mean, in theory, it would be something like a taser team.
Yeah.
Where you replace Fischl with Raiden, so you'd run like Beidou, Raiden, Sucrose, and Jingqiu, as an example. And you basically just like use Sucrose as the driver until
okay, well, because specifically what I was gonna say is because I've seen people say, well, you use Beidou with her when like her ult, when Raiden's ult is down, like they're using like Raiden as the carry, in which I've said, well, that doesn't work because then you're doing mixed damage.
What do you mean?
Because when Raiden attacks, just like attacks, she still.
Oh yeah,
attacks
no, like
Fizz.
the best example of this team would be to run a Sucrose taser team with Raiden.
Okay.
Because Sucrose is gonna be hitting.
I was making sure. Okay, I was making sure we weren't talking about, because I've seen people like, oh, just an auto attack with Raiden.
Well, no, the issue isn't even mixed damage. The issue is Raiden does piss poor damage with her normals unless she's an ult. It doesn't even matter. It's mixed damage. It literally it doesn't. Raiden's building ER, so without the damage buff from the from her ult mode, the damage buff, like she does piss poor damage with the normal attacks.
Okay, I also want that on a shirt. Damage bruff.
Damage bruff. But yeah,
like no, like damage bruv, like BRUV.
Like that's I guess that's similar to saying like you can run a Xiangling Vape team without Jingqiu by running Barbara as your main DPS for that. Yes, it works, but the damage is still piss poor. Like, yeah, technically it works. It's just not gonna be doing good damage. But yeah, which I think Zanto called that team Barbara Ikuzo.
One
yeah.
second, you keep talking. I'll be right back.
Anyway, that's like the Raiden National / Raiden Overvape team is basically the one team where Raiden is an improvement. And the reason why I call Raiden like below average is because an average power 5-star should be a slight improvement, at least in like what they're good at. There should be a slight improvement over 4-star C0 options because they're a 5-star. The fact that she is a side grade and therefore matching power level of a C0 official and Sucrose in teams outside of the Overvape team makes her a weak 5-star in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much Raiden in a nutshell. She has potential to be stronger in the future, but that's like potential. That's a toss up. That's a risk. You know, if we get like more 80 cost, really high DPS off-field sub DPS units like Jingqiu, Xiangling, and Beidou in the future, Raiden could be really strong in teams with them. Because like right now, the reason why the Overvape team is so strong is because Xiangling and Jingqiu get to run like 130 ER, 130 to like 145-ish ER range, and still get their ults off cooldown for the most part, like 22, 24-second rotations. Or 22-second rotations, I guess. But like, they get to run much lower ER, which means they get more damage stats. They get ult damage bonus from Raiden on top of that. And then the biggest reason why this team is so strong, too, is that Xiangling's damage doesn't actually get lower. Like, Xiangling, the reason why Sucrose is so good in the national team, or in like a Xiangling Vape team, is because Sucrose makes Xiangling's damage fucking skyrocket. She gives her EM and she VVs her. So she gets 40% resistance shred, and she also gives a bunch of EM to Xiangling, and she also gets to run Dragon Slayers, which gives Xiangling another 48% attack. So like, she is massively buffing Xiangling. The surprising thing is that once reaction counts were done, like we couldn't calculate the Overvape team until we counted reactions. Like people literally slowed down frame by frame videos and counted how many reactions we got. And once we knew that, we could accurately calculate the DPS of the team, and we realized Xiangling's damage goes down by like less than 5%. Because even though her vapes, due to lack of EM, lack of VV, and lack of Dragon Slayers goes down, it's made up for by the fact that she gets around 8 overloads. with high EM because, you know, Zhongling builds EM. So, like, what damage loss you lose from your Vapes being, like, significantly weaker with the Raiden team, you make up with overload damage. And so that was kind of like the biggest argument for Sucrose being a side grade or better than Raiden, is that she makes Zhongling hit harder, but she actually doesn't. Once we did counts and realized how many overloads are happening and how few like Vapes we lose in that team comp, we realized, oh wow, Zhongling's damage barely goes down. So now like the only difference between the team is that Raiden does more damage than Sucrose, and in the Sucrose version, Jingqiu does a bit more damage. Like, Jingqiu's damage actually goes down in the Raiden version, despite him being able to run low ER and drop Sack Sword. Just because, like, you can A, you can VV Hydro if you have a clean enough rotation, with the Sucrose version, and B, Jingqiu gets the benefit from Bennett's ult buff if you don't have an on-field carry like Raiden taking up field time, because you can just switch to Jingqiu to get the ult buff on his ult damage. For those who don't know, Jingqiu's ult does not snapshot. So the only way to get Bennett's attack buff on Jingqiu's ults hits is for you to switch to him constantly and reapply the buff to him before, like, you attack and get his ult attacks off.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dynamic ability. So, like, that's part of what makes this version of the team so strong compared to, like, say, running a child instead of Jingqiu for a Zhongling Vape team, is that Jingqiu, because you don't have a dedicated on-field carry, can be swapped to and get the attack buff from Bennett's ult by just swapping to him like every 2-3 seconds or something. But yeah, so that also presents another issue with the overvape team, which is you have overloads, so it kind of knocks people about, and against small enemies, you have to chase them, which can lower DPS, and it's kind of annoying as hell. Like, now that I have Raiden, I've been running the overvape team in, like, Abyss 11 and 12, and it's annoying as shit chasing people because I keep overloading them.
Yeah, and I mean that's a flavor of the month issue. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
like,
it wasn't but like
That's entirely
two.
content.
It wasn't but like two abysses ago that the only thing in there was Giant. You know,
Giant doesn't get overloaded shit, so
Right.
overload teams work really well. So yeah, it just depends on content. It's just a consideration to keep in mind
Mhm.
if you want to pull Raiden specifically for the overvape team. Is
Yeah, and it's like
I don't Raiden, like, she's a neat character. She has one of the most interesting kits in the 5-star we've ever had. She just doesn't really, outside of the overvape team, she doesn't really have a place right now. There's
Yeah.
just not, like Tuner said, she fixes a problem we don't have right now.
and this is another thing, is like, just speaking about power levels of characters. You know, people have been saying that they you know, a couple of abysses ago, they were saying, well, see, they nerfed Venti by making everything big. Well, look, we're back to having small things, so it's gonna go back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, as
Also,
far as,
Venti
like,
just got buffed this patch.
yeah, true, true.
Also, Venti got buffed because Inazuma shit actually gets sucked up by his ult now.
Sure.
So, because they just keep buffing Venti for God knows why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's the god of sucking. You know, you can't have him
But
not
yeah.
suck.
True. But yeah, God, it's like anytime there's like anytime people are like, well, maybe Venti isn't like 6 out of 5 power level because, you know, they keep like introducing things that fuck him up, and like, oh, here's an EM buff. Oh, here's a sucking power buff.
Yeah.
Like, every time people might be like, maybe Venti's a 5 out of 5 instead of a 6 out of 5. They're just like, hey, let's buff Venti again. XW, Mihoyo.
Make Raiden the god of battery. I think this is the last
Well-
podcast, so I get to do it again. No one bats like Raiden, unloads gats like Raiden, pulls a booba out, pulls a sword out her booba like Raiden.
Yup. Oh yeah, I guess one thing that I kind of forgot to explicitly like discuss more in depth. If you want to see like more stuff about this too, watch 1010's videos about Raiden, because he's able to cover stuff more than I can just like blurt out stuff here. Like, he actually goes over more stuff and gives more examples. But also, if you just check out my Twitter, I talked about this at length in my Twitter already.
Yeah.
But another thing is that the Raiden overvape team also means Jingqiu doesn't have to use a sack sword.
Yeah.
Because you can keep him ult funded with like 130 ER for 2 rotations, maybe 160 or so for more than 2 rotations.
Mhm.
Without a sack sword. And that's really valuable if you have a Jade Cutter it's less valuable if you don't have a cheat cutter.
Yeah.
Or whatever
Have we-
what was
have
the
we
sword
looked-
that came out with Ayaka? I forgot. That
Well, I was
one's
gonna
also
say,
good on him. But
well, have we looked at like what Xingqiu does with the EM 5-star?
huh? He doesn't have any use for the EM.
Okay.
He's Xingqiu. He doesn't have any use for the EM, so
His EM here. Unlike Bennett Shangling, C6 Bennett Shangling, when you're applying so much pyro, you can get some nice little damage on Xingqiu, but
the thing is anytime Xingqiu's vaping, you're losing damage because Zhongling isn't.
you know who else loses damage when
So like,
Shangling isn't vaping?
if I guess the point is if Xingqiu is vaping, your rotation's fucked because you're losing damage because Zhongling is vaping because Xingqiu's vaping instead.
Dude, the worst part
the
is
only-
like once you get C6 Bennett Shangling, then
Yeah.
you need to have like C6 Xingqiu, otherwise you're
Yep.
screwed.
Yeah, or you just need a not normal attack, which is a problem too. So yeah, that's part of the reason I don't have my C6 Bennett unlocked.
Do it, you coward. Do it.
But yeah, so like detaching Xingqiu from
Weekly
Saxord
podcast
is really
reminder that Jinx is a
valuable.
coward for not C6ing his Bennett.
Like that is an advantage. The problem is that like Saxord is so valuable for Xingqiu because his E has such a big damage dump that you basically have to make up like the damage that his second E would have made without a Saxord with a non-Saxord option, increasing the damage of his ult swords and his first E, and they kind of don't. Like, I think if I recall correctly, I saw some damage numbers, and I think a high refinement Lion's Roar gives him a slight damage increase over Saxord, as a 4-star weapon, but for the most part, like, Saxord's still just his best 4-star damage option because dumping an E twice is a lot of fucking damage for Xingqiu.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like, what's my Xingqiu? My Xingqiu has, like, a talent 11E, and the shit hits for fucking 782 fucking motion value. Like,
See, why don't people
That's-
just play my favorite team?
like, to put that into context, that's more damage than that's like 20% more damage than my Talon 8's Raiden's ult first hit, which, you know, people have been memeing about hitting like 1 million damage numbers with and shit.
No, listen.
Like that, holy fuck, that's so much damage for an E.
Just play my Bennett, Kaya, Rosaria, Kazuha, hyper invested in all four. And it doesn't matter who's hitting what. There's just damage.
There's just damage happening, exactly.
It doesn't matter
As
if,
long
if
as you have a
Bennett
Pyro
melts
Kazuha
Kaya
ult,
or
nothing
Kaya
matters.
melts Kazuha's ult or Rosaria melts Bennett.
Well,
It doesn't
I
ma-
would argue that that melting Kazuha's ult would be bad, but
Well,
it doesn't hit very hard per hit. But that's the only one. That's the only time it matters. The only time it matters is if you fuck up somehow and don't have a pyro ult, Kazuha ult.
yeah. Which, I
It's
mean,
the
is,
only time. It's the only
frankly,
thing that
I
fucks
don't
up.
even think it's possible as long as you're standing in Bennett's ult. Unless it's like
Yeah.
raining on you.
No,
Which-
even if it's raining on you, it still shouldn't be possible. Well, actually, maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, point is,
I think it
yeah.
is possible because like I was having an issue where it was always
yeah, that's
raining
right, 'cause
in Inazuma.
It's That's right. It only applies pyro to every Bennett tick. So if it like vaporizes and Kazuha's ult infuses while you're like vaporized, it could fuck up. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's like a half-second period between each Bennett ult. So it's possible. Anyway, yeah, that's Raiden. You want to learn more? Go look at my Twitter. Or go watch 1010's videos about it, because he's pretty much the only person on YouTube who actually gave a fair assessment of her power level. Everyone else is just like calling her a top 5 best character. Oh my god, so broken, and bitching about the Beidou thing, but otherwise making her seem really strong. Because like, I think you gotta remember, C2 Raiden is really strong. Like, all the shit I'm talking about is pre-C2 Raiden. If you have a C2 Raiden, she suddenly becomes a really fucking good character. Because increasing her personal DPS output by 40% is a fucking lot of damage. Like, that's a fuck ton of damage. But like, that's C2 Raiden. That's like saying C1 Hu Tao is better than like Zhongling in like any single target situation, which is true, but it's a C1 Hu Tao. But yeah, that's Raiden. I don't know. I agree with 1010. She's like a 2.5 out of 5. She's like just below average. the only good reason to pull her meta-wise, if you care about like improving your team's damage, is to run her in overvape / Nash. That is literally the only case. The Eula team, Kaching mains finally finished all the calcs for the Eula teams, and basically, if you are a robot and have exactly perfect rotations and can tweak your ER precisely, Raiden with C6 Sarah and Eula Diona is technically her strongest team by like 8% over triple cryo. But if you fuck up and go even like 1 or 2 seconds over the ideal perfect rotation, so you like fuck up even like a little bit and spend an extra 1 or 2 seconds per rotation compared to a triple cryo Eula team, suddenly you're dropping down to weaker. So like if you're a robot and you have a C6 Sarah, it's like an 8% improvement over triple cryo like standard Eula teams.
Probably also
With, like,
want some good
cryo plus
ping.
official. And this is again a C0 official. If you got C6, it's not even a contest. But yeah, it's the general consensus is she's not really worth it for Eula. But if you have her already and have a Eula, and you're willing to like learn the rotations to make them really crisp, then it can be a bit of an improvement. But it's definitely not worth a pull.
Where do we put her C2, C3 out of 5 on a scale compared to other C2, C3s of other 5-star units? It depends on the 5-star unit.
I was about to say, like, that's depends on this 5-star unit. Like, Ganyu C2. Well, no, Ganyu C1 and Hu Tao C1 aren't as much of an improvement as C2 Raiden, but is a significant improvement. Diluc C2 is like shrug. Mona C2 is like shrug. Chi-Chi C2 is I cry because I have like a C4 Chi-Chi. Like, it's if we were to just compare her to everything else like C0 and her C2, I'd probably put her at like a 4 out of 5. Maybe a bit below 4 out of 5. Like,
I don't know.
like 4 out of 5
for me,
is
it's like it doesn't matter because like at the point where you were willfully talking about multiple cons on a 5-star,
unit?
you have
Yeah.
probably have enough money available to you. Like if you're willfully thinking about this,
I think C1 is like the one exception. Because for someone like a C1 Huto and a C1 Ganyu is arguably worth it from a like free-to-play Primos perspective. Assuming you already have like other strong options for like a C1 Ganyu is arguably worth it because you don't need another 5-star other than Ganyu to have 2 incredibly strong abyss clearing. And C1 Ganyu is a big damage buff for her. But
I mean, I get that, but like, I don't know. I just don't think anybody should willfully spend money on this game.
And I agree with you on that. Like, I agree that like you should never really be thinking about constellations, but if we are to argue, are there any 5-star cons worth it from like a free-to-play Primo or like a welcome pass Primo perspective? Ganyu C1 is arguably worth it.
Yeah.
Like
if you have literally been playing since day one and never spent any primos on anything, and you just have, you know, I don't know how many primos you would have if you were free to play the entire time, doing everything every day. But you know, let's say 100,000, then yeah, maybe. But
yeah, exactly.
I don't think any.
I think Envy's at like over 90k Primos or something like that. So. Yeah. I think Envy was over 90k Primos, which is why, like, yeah, okay, there's an argument that maybe just because Ganyu is so busted, and it's such a good improvement for Ganyu, it's arguably worth it. Like, that's why I say even with Hu Tao, it's kind of a big maybe, because, like, you can just run Zhangling instead of Hu Tao, and it's fine. Yeah. Like, even the C0 Zhangling is, like, the thing people forget about Hu Tao, the reason why Hu Tao is such a strong pyro DPS is not because her absolute values are that high, like, in multi-target, she doesn't beat Zhangling. In single-target, she barely beats Zhangling with C0 and 4-star weapons. However, if you have C1 and or Homa, like, she gets a massive damage boost from that. Like, a Homa on Hu Tao is way more valuable than a Homa on Zhangling, right? So, like, that's what makes her so strong. And that, plus she's, you know, doesn't need Bennett. Like, that's really valuable in of itself. If theoretically you wanted to say Bennett for your other team and you didn't want him to have to be attached to your like pyro team, you can't do that with Zhangling. You can't do that with Hu Tao. But you know, that's That's me trying my goddamn best to justify pulling for a pyro DPS. That's not jungling.
Sounds
ever.
like cope.
It is basically cope. Like, there are legitimate reasons to do it, but are they worth a 5-star pull? Probably not.
My problem is like, if you're free to play, you know, and you're not like doing an envy thing where you don't roll at all, you know, but if you're rolling
like if
on random characters, I mean, the chances are like, unless you
you're
somehow
gonna pull
just
random 5-stars just because you're trying to pull Bennett's and shit like that.
yeah, unless you just somehow got the worst possible rolls ever, you know, like any character that you have, if invested to 90/90 with enough time and investment, is probably going to be able to at least for the sure get you a clear in the abyss, if not like a 2-star.
You'll at least 3-star.
Yeah.
Like you'll at least 3-star with like, as long as your teams have synergy and are invested enough, you'll
Right.
at least 3-star. You might not 12-star, or you might not 9-star, and you might not 36-star, but you'll at least clear through 12 and get like those basic rewards.
You know, and it's just like, it's hard for me
As long as your
to
teams have synergy, that's the important part. But
it's hard for me to like, you know, justify telling anybody to roll on this game, because like, okay, if like, you know, if you see a character that you like, roll for the character that you like. If you don't see a character that you don't like, don't pull them if you like don't want
like
to.
I said at the beginning, like now that I have a Raiden, she's really fun to play, and she's not like Yoimiya and she's not like Yoimiya KekW, weaker than 4-stars, and she's not like Chi-Chi or LOL actually replaced entirely by a 4-star unit.
Yeah.
Like she's not like a trap character like getting a Chi-Chi constellation is, right?
Mm.
But that being said, if what you care about is pulling for power level, I don't think she's worth it.
Yeah. And
Like at the end of the day, pull for who you want.
Yeah.
Because like the reality is, and I know this is a reality because I've done it, like you can run 4-star weapons on purely 4-star teams and 12-star the Abyss without even having like level 80s on most of your character.
Right.
As long as your teams are well synergized enough and you play cleanly enough.
Right. You know, and that's kind of where my love of my team came from, is, you know, people like, oh, you have to have 5 stars, you have to have 5 stars, you have to have 5 stars.
If you're gonna have Kazuha, you could still just run Xiangling and it functions like 10% worse.
Yeah.
Like.
Yep. And it was just, I don't know, it's
like I full cleared multiple different Abyss 12s at 9-star, running Xiangling Vape 4-star versions, like either National or Sucrose Xiangling Vape on one side, and then running like traditional National on one side, and then running Sucrose Taser on the other side. Like Sucrose Taser without Jing Cho, like with a Dion or some shit instead, but like with those two teams, you got all you really need to clear Abyss if you play them well enough.
That's just I don't know what some people are familiar with the term, like the coming to Jesus talk, but I think it's more of a Midwestern thing. But you know, it just I sometimes regret what we've done with the channel. I'm sure it's helped some people, but I wonder how much damage we've caused from our channel and channels like our channel to just be like, hey, these characters are super good. Wow, they're so good. You know, they're just like, we've added to the FOMO.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And then, you know, there's streamers who are like showing off like, oh, this is what this character does when they're C6 and when they've got this, and this. And it's like, oh my God, this is so good. Wow, it's like impossible to play without them. Like, no.
And I also had a bit of a similar realization, especially because like we came from Monster Hunter to this.
Yeah, where Monster Hunter was like everybody had everything.
Toys. Yeah, everyone had the same toys. And like in Monster Hunter, there was a good reason to pursue meta, because everyone had the same toys. Like, if you like, there was no good reason to run like an elemental run an elemental
GS, elemental hammer,
elemental GS over a raw version. At least for like longsword, especially because your playstyle literally didn't change. You just had smaller numbers.
Yeah.
Like GS has a different playstyle with elemental, so at least you can make that argument. But like,
well, it's like hammer, elemental hammer. You know, Tony's big elemental ice hammer on Colv meme.
Yeah,
you know, it's
like
you are playing the exact same way with the same weapons. Everybody has the same toys. You were just doing a smaller number. And if you like to play the weapon that you like to play and the playstyle that you like to play, well, and that doesn't even matter anymore, because of the
Transmog.
transmog. You know, and
Yeah,
I had
exactly.
a lot of people who would tell me, it's like, oh well, you know, you're one to talk with like all of this stuff. You know, you guys were the ones that told everybody to use the same armor and same weapons. It's like, well, I mean, frankly speaking, for me, I mean, you know me. It's like I don't really care what it looks like as long as it plays fun. It's like I'm not sitting there looking at my armor when I'm fighting a monster. I'm fighting the monster. Yeah, my attention is on reacting. But
Yep.
it's just, you know, that's that and
Yep.
this is this, and I just
And like that was part of the thing too, with what part of the reason why I decided to just quit doing YouTube stuff was that I realized that financially speaking, if I really wanted this to be successful, I'd have to start like hyping shit up.
yeah.
And like not only would that go against like my principles of giving as best as I can accurate assessments of power strength
Mhm.
and letting the numbers and the calculations and sharing that information and letting those speak. But also, even if I were to like still have all the same information, but like talk about things in a better light and hype up characters more and like do the YouTube algorithm shit for that, I would be contributing more to the problem. I would be contributing more to people pulling shit and spending more money on this game because of FOMO.
Yeah.
And like, I just didn't want to do that shit, so I quit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. I feel like 1010's doing a good job, like, carrying the torch, so to speak, because... And he's been doing a thing recently with his videos I kind of wish we had been doing, which is, like, at the very beginning being a disclaimer, this is about meta stuff. Pull for who you want if you like the character, but this is talking about, like, how strong characters actually are. I don't sugarcoat shit.
I mean, that's what we said with the thing, but
That's what we said, but we didn't have, like, the same disclaimer at the beginning of literally every goddamn video, which
no,
would have been nice.
we had a really good disclaimer at the beginning of every video, and honestly,
Fair.
if anybody took what we said and like harassed somebody else about it, I'll say it once, say it before, I've said it again, you know, you weren't a part of our community. You just,
True.
you know, took our information and harassed people with it. And for people
Yeah,
who, you know, people who have said like, oh, well, yeah, you knew about the community and you never did anything about it. That's not true. And if you want proof, you can ask the Colv mains and, you know, Mathlow's
Yep.
Nest. Oh, wait, they're not there anymore. Because they
Yep.
would go to other people's channels, harass them about how they were or weren't playing Colv Tarot. And
Yep.
they would like, oh, hey, let's just go over to their channel and like ruin their hunts with P1s so they get 0 rewards because all they're doing is P4s. I banned
Yeah.
them. And they didn't like
Yeah.
it.
They got banned, and the channel got dismantled, and like all the people who were doing that shit got banned.
Yeah,
I
they
don't do
either
community
got banned
management
or they
stuff.
left, and you know they went
Yeah.
and started their own stuff, but they weren't associated with us anymore. And
Yep.
I kind of take pride in the way that our community is.
Yeah. No, I don't do any community management stuff, so this is all 100% like Tuner's work. But like Tuner has done a lot to try to build a better community and to remove those kinds of toxic people from the community. The problem is like Tuna said, a lot of the people who are like using us as a justification to be toxic, especially back in the Monster Hunter community, because it was a bigger problem then, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it was a much bigger problem with like elitists using us as the mathematical reasoning why their elitism is justified.
Right, and
Like,
because
that
I mean, there was
was
a lot of crossover between the Dark Souls community and the Monster Hunter community, especially when World happened and it became so accessible for everybody that
Yep.
you know it just people wanted to be. I hate to say the Dark Souls, you know, bros, but
Yeah, they were.
just get good, dude.
I will also say, having been a part of the Dark Souls community for many years back in the day, it was a lot less personal then, I guess.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the community was like that. Like, it not to say that it was necessarily okay, but it was more of the environment was more like a fraternity where everyone's shitting on each other and not taking it personally, to a bunch of these people coming to, like, a different community and shitting on everyone in the room.
Yeah.
And them not being, you know, your bros who it's established and understood it's okay for you to be shitty with each other because that's how you interact.
Yeah.
Like, not to justify their behavior, but to explain it.
Yeah. And then, you know, it frustrates me because then you get these people who are like, well, you're shitty because, you know, I saw this person who said that they watch your content be shitty. And it's like, okay, well, and then they'll just be shitty. It's like, well, you could have talked, you know.
Yep.
Like, it was absolutely no possible way, shape, or form, like,
I mean, I think there's a. I think people
trying to come
don't.
up with a word with like I never sanctioned it. You know, like we never sanctioned this stuff.
Yeah. Like I think the big thing is that people don't realize that it is, while it is possible for you to be responsible for your community, it's not possible to be responsible for all of your viewers.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And I think that's the
like
thing.
we
thing that
try to
people
take
really need
responsibility for our community and making sure our community isn't toxic or awful. And when we find out these things are, like what happened to Cove Chat, they got fucking banned for it. They were removed from the community because they were being shitty. But that's the community. That's not all of our viewers. We can't stop every viewer of our content from being a shitty person. That's not possible. We had 160,000 subscribers. Each video got anywhere from like, 40 to 500,000 views. We can't be responsible for the
500.
actions of
Try
every
like
single viewer.
700.
I
I don't know.
forget
I think some of them might even be at 1 million at this point, but
I don't think we ever broke. I don't think we ever broke 6 fig, but I also haven't checked a lot of our older shit.
I know that Switch X video is like a 700,000 or something.
Oh, is it? God damn! I really should have just made more fucking weapon tutorials.
It's
like, I
still
think back about,
regularly
like-
hits like our most viewed videos out of a month.
Yeah, which is so fucking weird, but whatever. I should, like, when I think back about the Monster Hunter stuff, I'm like, man, I should have just made more more weapon guides, because that would have been more fun and apparently more successful
Yeah.
than trying to like bang out the meta series that made me fucking
Well,
miserable.
honestly, and we talk about it all the time. It's like I really do think AirX like had it right, dude.
Yep, dude. Yep. Like, we could have, like...
I think about it all the time, that like if AirX didn't exist, like we wouldn't be hanging out.
Oh, yeah, no. Absolutely. And, like, we could have done a similar thing to like the weapon guys Arix did, but with a bit more focus on, optimal combos.
Yeah,
Because
he was basically just like, here are the combos, but like
Yeah.
we would be like, here are the combos. This
those
one's
that-
the best one.
Yeah, these ones do the best ones and do the best DPS in these situations, right? Like, which is what we did with the Switch X guide video, and like it's similar too with like the Genshin stuff. I wish I had just stopped doing all the fucking new character shit that the channel kind of became, and I
Yeah.
had just been doing shit like the Freeze team comp video we did, which is still one of the most successful Genshin vids we put out.
Yeah.
Or like I had done guides on not new characters. A Xiangling comp guide probably would have done incredibly better than any of these new character videos we put out,
Yeah.
and would have been more fun to do, and is more calced out and all that shit, and would have had the same stress of trying to like bang out content faster while trying to also get all the calcs done and talk with all the theory crafters and still trying to get it out as fast as possible. Like, I wish I had done more of that shit, basically.
Yeah. The Klee tutorial
say,
one was
Libby.
fun, mostly because like Jinx was like, hey, here's the Klee thing. You might be able to get it, in a couple days practice. Like that. Fuck
Yep.
you, tuner.
Yeah, no, like, I don't know, more... And, like, the Jingqiu video was a lot of fun. The Bennett video was a lot of fun. Like, I wish I had done more content for, like, the characters I liked and wanted to talk about, rather than trying to, like, get the information as fast as possible to get a video out for a new character and try to be competitive about it.
You know what? See, you know what I would
In a-
love to do?
And, like, that's a field too where like the ones who hype up win, but like the reason the Bennett and the Jingqiu videos did so well is because we did hype them up, because they're fucking broken.
No. See, what we need to do is you're not a card guy, but there's a guy who does videos called regular car reviews,
Yeah.
and it's like he'll review a '97 Toyota Camry. He'll review a 2004 Civic. Honda Civic. He'll review a 2008 Dodge Charger. Like, instead of hyping up these new vehicles, he just reviews old crap. And I was like, that would be.
Yep.
Like, we could do regular Genshin reviews, where we just review Xingqiu, or review Bennett, or review Kaya, or review
Yep.
Sayu.
I don't want to in any way make it seem like I am committing to or even showing interest in like ever wanting to do Genshin YouTube stuff again. But
Monster
if
Hunter, though.
Monster Hunter stuff, probably neither, honestly. But like, if I were to do anything related to that, or if like I said, if there was something I could go back and like change the content we had made, I would have just done shit like that. I would have done videos about Sucrose. I would have done a revisit on Bennett, because we learned even more about how fucking busted he is. Like, I remember seeing there were some comments talking about, like, why do you guys keep talking about Bennett being, like, one of the best carries in the game? He's not a carry, even if he is adding a lot to your team's damage result. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
He's a carry.
Using Bennett as an actual carry is better than 95% of the carries in the game.
Yep.
Like, using Bennett in the exact same position you use the Luke is better than using the Luke for that exact same position. Like, with even, like, a few constellations. Like,
After
Bennett
C6
is...
Bennett, don't even forget about it.
Yeah, if you have a C5 Bennett, forget about it. He is just a better Diluc.
Forget about
And then, like, that was before we even discovered Melt Bennett was a thing. Jingcho-less Melt Bennett hits harder than basically every carry except for the absolute best in the game. It is disgusting how much damage a single target a Melt Bennett deals.
I mean,
And a Melt Bennett, for those who don't know, is any 2 cryo pretty much, plus any 2 cryo plus Sucrose plus Bennett.
Yeah. So basically, my Bennett, Kaya, Rosaria. I use Kazuha because he's more fun, but.
Well, you use Kaza because you're doing a reverse Melt team instead of a Melt Bennett team.
Yeah.
If you were to change Kazuha to Sucrose, and then change your rotation order out so that you're always applying cryo before Bennett E's, you're running a Melt Bennett team.
Well, I could use the same team. I just need to like cryo infuse Kazuha's ult.
Yeah, exactly. You would cryo infuse Kazuha's ult instead.
Yeah.
Although that team doesn't even rely on like an infused ults to work. You just have to make sure that you're like lining up your rotations properly. That is the thing about Melt Bennett is a very easy team to fuck up. Because if you basically ever apply a pyro aura, you fuck your rotation for the team. Like, you pretty much have to keep a consistent cryo aura and things, which requires a lot more like rotation discipline.
Bennett's F tier,
really
yeah.
easy team to fuck up.
Bennett is fuckboy tier, where he's just so goddamn good.
Yep, just so good. Yeah, no, like, I don't think anyone can deny at this point Bennett's the best character in the game, including all the 5 stars. Like, he's the character in the game. It's disgusting. But yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that's Genshin stuff.
Yeah, there's other Genshin stuff.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about like bee food?
It's up to you, man. You seem like you don't want to, so I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
Eh.
I do think it's something that needs to be paid attention to, and
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what little exposure we could really give the subject, but I mean, I don't know. I guess like at the very least a brief overview of things. For those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm sure you probably know about Honey Hunter World. And if you pay attention to like Twitter or like Atsu, who's like Asian Genshin stream guy, or you pay attention to his like stuff, or like
I think he made a video on it. So
yeah, he made a video about it. There's probably gonna be more content creators who make a video about it because it's some juicy drama for clicks.
Yeah.
But basically, like Honey Hunter World is being like taken down by Genshin because leaks. By MiHoYo rather because leaks. But that's not what the drama's really about. The drama's about Honey posting something at the bottom of all the pages on Honey Hunter World that was like arguably racist and definitely ableist and really shitty. And again, I'm sure I was about to say you can pull it up real quick if you want to like pull up the specific thing that's posted at the bottom.
So this is the thing specifically. So Genshin Infarced is a registered trademark of MiHoYo. This website is made for educational purposes and research purposes. And us eating macaroni, images, and data belong to decaying mind of mentally unstable game designer considering himself a brain-damaged horse suffering from PTSD syndrome caused by multiple copium infusions and are pretty fictional. Any similarity of names, data, images, or resources of gambling waifu game with 3+ ESRB rating, developed by some third-party company whose whole legal department can't make a clear paragraph in English, are entirely coincidental. At which case we have instances of
like
making fun of PTSD
Yep.
and making fun of somebody's ability to speak English, which we can decide whether or not
making fun
that's...
of just in general mental illness.
Yeah.
I don't know, like
The thing about PTSD is, to me, is unforgivable.
the PTSD thing is the worst part. Like I said, we discussed this already off stream about like, you know, arguably racist. I don't want to get into a long-ass semantic discussion about the whole, like, you know, making fun of people who can't speak English well thing being racist or xenophobic or whatever. Like, it's still fucked up regardless, but, like, that's a whole semantic discussion we don't need to get into. But yeah, no, the PTSD thing, especially considering that, you know, my wife has PTSD. She is currently in school for clinical mental health counseling to be a therapist who specializes in PTSD. Like, that's an unforgivable thing. But anyway, the reason why this matters is because for those of you who weren't with us with Monster Hunter, or just weren't ever like enough in the community to know about the shit that happened with Monster Hunter, we worked with Honey for a year.
Yeah.
We worked with Honey for a year. Basically, we would use her Monster Hunter World like set builder and whatnot in our videos, and we would shill her constantly in like all the videos.
And I do want to make it perfectly clear. I didn't even really use the builder, and the only reason we used the builder
it saved me like 10 minutes per video.
Save 10 minutes to make an infographic.
Yeah, like
basically.
We didn't need the builder. The only thing the builder did was it was faster to use it for me than it was to basically make my own graphics showing.
Right, because like you put the thing in there and it shows a picture of the shows a picture of the armor, and it shows the armor name, and the decos, and it was convenient.
It was convenient, and like it did have a built-in optimizer to like optimize sets in it, but like there are other honestly better optimizers like Athena's set searcher.
Athena's ass.
Yeah, that were better. I just didn't use them because we had this relationship with Honey, and I wanted to use their tool and work with them and like help them with that kind of stuff.
Right.
And over the course of the year, I thought I actually had a friendship with Honey.
And unfortunately, I had the big brain idea of saying, hey, let's further integrate them into our community since we're doing so much with them, and we'll, that was my brainchild, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, and then like we don't want to rehash all of this, and like we did have a stream where we kind of went through all of this drama bullshit that happened with Honey, but unfortunately we didn't save that VOD, and I kind of wish we had. And I guess worst case scenario, if we end up having to go back through all the drama shit, we have the receipts, we have screenshots, like, and all that kind of shit. But it basically just devolved into this massive fucking pile of awful drama with like he said, she said. Honey was posting a bunch of lies, very atrocious lies about Tuner specifically, less so me, but Tuner specifically.
Well, and it's not
like,
even just
Twitter
the thing she said about
like
me. With the thing she said about you when you defended me.
Yes.
Because like this, like she was like, oh well, Jinx is so smart, and Jinx is this and that and like Tuner's just taking advantage of this and that and this and that. The second you're like, no, that's not what happened. She's like, oh well, Jinx has never been smart. He only used my thing because he couldn't do anything. And like, I was like, the immediate flip.
Oh, hi 1010. Actually, people saying 1010 Giga Chad in and hi 1010 in chat. Hey 1010. But yeah, it was a whole fucking mess, and like we ended up having to like have a stream where we went through receipts about it. Basically we went through screenshots and whatnot and talked about what happens and basically used screenshots and whatnot to show how a lot of the tweets and things she was saying were outright lies.
Yeah,
and there was some things, unfortunately, we didn't have screenshots for because Honey has
everything.
pattern. Yeah, she has this is not a one-time instance. This is I have seen her do this at least 3 times where she deletes her sides of a DM conversation to hide evidence.
Right.
Basically, the first time that ever happened was kind of one of the early dramas that later led to this whole drama mess between us, where we broke ties with each other completely and did not leave on good terms. But basically, the first time this happened, Tuner, Honey, and I, and one other person who was related to the drama, who I won't say because not my place. But basically,
they're irrelevant.
They're irrelevant to the whole thing. But basically, as we were having this discussion, I had my Discord open, and I was literally seeing Honey delete lines of messages between me and her to hide any evidence so she could continue lying. And that should have been a huge red flag for me at the time, but I was trying to make it work. Like,
well, and it was a big enough red flag. I told you to start literally recording, not screenshots, like recording you scrolling through Discord. That way, so, like no one could be like, oh, well, these are doctored screenshots. No, it's the video of Discord.
Yeah, so that after that happened, and especially once like more drama started happening, I literally made a recording of me scrolling through my entire DM history with Honey, just in case.
Mhm.
Because she had this history of deleting her DMs to hide evidence, so she could make whatever claims and do whatever manipulation and victim tactics she wanted, right? And there wouldn't be evidence to disprove her. So we still have the recording, so it's a thing we could do. I just really don't fucking want to do that again if not necessary.
Yeah, and I have some screenshots too, but like if I were to show you my DM with Honey right now from like all the years that we had talked, or the year that we had talked, like it is empty. It is only me talking to an empty wall because she systematically
I can show you
deleted
the exact same thing because afterwards she did the same thing to me.
Yeah, deleted everything. And
every single like, and you gotta keep this in mind. We worked together for a year. Like there was a year's worth of communications between me and Honey, as well as just like us talking and like hanging out, as well as like us occasionally playing some games together and stuff. All of those DMs are gone. She went through and deleted every single message she ever sent me over the course of a year.
Yep. And
so,
and then like, you know, with that person who's like again irrelevant, you know,
Yeah.
they had tried like saying this had been set up so much longer than when it happened, and the reason I know that is because like this person who was, you know, again they're irrelevant, but they had DM'd me and they were like, oh hey, I want to make YouTube videos for you so you can split off from the YouTube and you know, have your own content, and I'll make the videos for you. And you know, this was a mutual friend of Honey's, and you know, then you know that, and you can make extra money, and those messages got deleted. So he went back, probably at Honey's discretion, to delete the evidence of those. So, and that was like months before the drama had happened. So this was like this.
Holy shit, there's like 500 people right now. What the fuck?
What was that, Jeff?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, never mind. I was like, the fuck?
Yeah.
I know Jeff came in here, I just didn't see the raid thing. My bad.
Wow,
yeah.
streamer doesn't even pay attention.
This is why I'm not the streamer. We've been over this. I'm a terrible streamer.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's the TLDR version, which is why like you know,
and the you know, I don't know. It's just...
I don't have like a what's the word? How's the term go? I don't have a horse in this race. I don't really have any like personal investment in the whole Honey drama and like the current Honey drama shit.
Yeah, I'm just sipping my tea with the current Honey drama because
exactly.
You know, when this had happened to us, so many people were like, oh well, you know, it could be he said she said, even though like literally everything that she said had no screenshots, there was no evidence.
But also to be fair, it was a much smaller incident. There was a lot less attention to it, and we specifically did not want to draw attention to it. Like we didn't like when we did like the 2 hours of going through screenshots and going and like explaining the context behind things and showing her lies. We never like posted that to YouTube or even mentioned it on the YouTube channel because we didn't want to drag that drama into the YouTube community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we wanted to keep it isolated to that, and that way when people, you know, were like, well, people who actually cared enough to like get our side of things, but like, why is Honey saying all these awful things? We would be like, well, you can go watch this video if you really want to see like the receipts. Unfortunately, we didn't save it, which I still regret because now we'd have to do it again if we ever wanted to do that again.
Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't even mind going through it again because like at the time that I did it, I've never been diagnosed. But I wouldn't be shocked if I have like PTSD from the whole situation. I mean, I still feel sick to my stomach when I see the word Honey. There are certain colors that I associate with her PFP that when I see them, immediately make my heart drop. It like
my reaction is not as intense, but anytime the word Honey comes up, there is a noticeable physical reaction for me.
Yep.
Which I think is I would not say it was necessarily a traumatizing event for me, but it was definitely one that has led me to have a lot of like built up like.
Well, you know, and people wonder why like I don't.
Behind it, I guess.
People wonder why I don't want to play this game or be in this community. You know, it's like it's hard when your abuser is it's a name
person. It's such a big name in it.
Yeah, like, it's hard. Genuinely.
I mean, big enough name that like when I was kind of looking into this whole drama today, like. Someone had leaked a screenshot showing that Honey makes 5 figures a month from like the ad revenue from Honey Hunter.
Yeah.
Like it's Yeah, that's part of what makes this difficult for me too, and it's part of what has always made theory crafting a bit difficult for me because we probably would have had more success had I actually looked at leaks and data mines and been able to do some like pre-work before characters came out. But I didn't want to because I didn't want to use Honey's websites.
Yeah, I didn't either. You know,
Like I didn't want to use Honey's website, so I just never looked at leaks. Like, yeah. Yeah, anyway, it's a whole mess, and for me, like, Tuna and I are both, like Tuna said, and like I feel as well, I'm kind of just sitting back and sipping my tea watching this shit, because it is funny to me, because Honey has finally shown her true colors to the rest of the world outside of private.
Well, and I
'Cause,
actually,
like,
I
we've
sent an...
seen it in private, and we've known about it for, what happened, like, 2018 or something? Like, it's
Yeah.
been a while. But, like, I don't believe in karma, but I do believe there is a sociological basis behind the idea and concept of karma. Because if you're a shitty enough person for long enough, eventually it comes to bite you. Eventually you do a stupid enough thing or you fuck over the wrong person.
Yeah,
And,
if you never change your ability, eventually like something's gonna happen where you piss off the wrong person.
You piss off the wrong person, and you say a stupid enough thing in public. And like Honey's very good at hiding shit, obviously. But it is hilarious to me that Honey has finally shown at least a glimpse at her true colors to the public.
I
with
actually
this whole
sent
shit.
I sent an email to Atsu.
Yeah, you
said,
mentioned that. Yeah.
We're probably not friends. We're probably never gonna be friends. I still vehemently disagree with him when he told his audience that like I don't care about you. That hurt me a lot, and I'll never get over it, probably. But I really do appreciate that he has
Drawn attention to
he
the
brought attention to
situation.
this, taken up such a strong stance on it, and
Yep.
he's getting a lot of pushback on people who are like, oh, well, it's not racist. It's not racist. It's not racist.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you and I had this discussion about,
Yep. Is this racist? Either way, it's fucked up to say that.
Yeah,
But like,
either way,
is it
it's
specifically
messed up,
racist.
dude.
Is it xenophobic? Is it what? I don't know. Like it's semantics, but it's fucked up to insult someone for their lack of English ability. Especially when you read the thing, like there are a handful
minor.
of syntax errors at best. Like
It's
it's not like they were writing it in broken English. There was a handful of syntax errors.
Yeah,
Like
it's not even bad.
yeah, and yeah, you can make the argument that a multi-million-dollar company like MiHoYo should have like a better English translation team for their lawyers and whatnot, but it's still just a fucked up thing to make to insult.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, especially coming from Honey, who was Russian.
Yeah.
And does not have the best command of the English.
Well, I
language,
mean, I was gonna say, if we're calling pot call the kettle black, I mean, just this alone. I mean, this website is made for educational and research purpose, and us eating macaroni. Images and data belong to decaying mind of mentally unstable game design. Like,
Speaking of mentally unstable, there's just I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing. Regardless,
you know what? And honestly, I would
makes
say like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about because people seem to be dragging on this.
It's not
the
racist
English thing. That's not even close second to the fact that she mocked this guy for mental health, and that's just not okay. It's not.
Yeah.
In no way,
It's
shape, or
very not
form is it
okay.
okay.
Yep.
People go through some really
Especially
messed
the
up crap.
degree she went to making fun of it. Like,
Yeah.
holy fuck, that is if I've ever seen a toxic fucking like 4chan green text line of description about someone you don't like, it's what she fucking wrote in that. Like, Jesus Christ, that is a long line of not nice things to say about an individual in
And it's like
a 10-word sentence.
I'm sorry. It's like you don't get to go, oh, defending a multi-billion-dollar company. It doesn't. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't get to do that kind of thing and just say, oh, no. There's no excuse.
Yep. But yeah, it is nice to see her finally showing at least a glimpse of her true colors to the public eye.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm happy she slipped up like this, because
No, I'm.
we've known this for years.
Heike and Heike, Tony, we're just
Yep.
we're just like sipping our tea and shrugging and laughing about it. We laugh.
We
Pepe
laugh. We're not really a part of it anymore, but it's just nice to see that she finally fucked up and showed her real self to the internet.
Yeah. And if anybody who comes in is like, oh, it's so messed up that you're happy about it, it's like, no, sorry, that I get to be happy that my abuser has, been found out. That I get to enjoy that.
Yep. Yep. That your abuser effectively got
You know.
showed their abusive self to the rest of
Yeah. It's not
them. And
short.
especially
It's
in
not.
such a public eye.
It's not short and fat. It's like I'm not sitting here laughing at a kid who got kicked in the balls. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
no, this
I'm
is
feeling vindicated that
yep. That's
somebody.
a good way to put it. This
Yeah.
is personal vindication for
Yep.
us. This is personal vindication, cause yeah, it's not about like enjoying her, or like the Schadenfreude thing of like enjoying someone else's suffering. It's not like
Yeah.
I don't even want to go as far as saying like it's a justice thing, but it is definitely personal vindication for us.
Yeah.
Because of the shit that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
Because Honey is a terrible person.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever.
Yep. All right. Less shitty subject.
For the remaining like 20 minutes that we have, but
For the remaining 20 minutes of this fucking podcast, less shitty subject.
the two things that I most care about, right now, they are doing a Tiny Tina's sequel,
Oh, okay.
and I want to play it with you.
Oh, in Borderlands? Okay.
Yes. And
Yeah, see, that might be good enough reason for me to actually play Borderlands again.
yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
think it's like an expansion. I think it's its own standalone game, and it's coming out sometime, whenever. But
Yeah.
I saw it, and I really want to play it with you because
Yeah.
we had a good
I
time.
was thinking about the whole like Borderlands thing, and like if we were to just want to play through the DLC, because a part of the big thing about it for me that I don't want to do again is to grind through the whole story again.
Mhm.
Like regardless of like not having like as much fun with, for me the end game of Borderlands is the fun part.
Mhm.
But even that aside, it's just like with me, not having that much free time on my hands, especially since I'm looking at going back to school or doing at least some sort of further education thing that will take up time,
Mhm.
and also only having like a 2-hour limit on things. I don't want to have to regrind through the entire 20-hour story with you to just hit the DLC things. But a thing that I might be okay with doing would be like a Borderlands thing where we just like download some save files. So we're already at the end game, we're already past the story, and we can just go do the DLC.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's actually really good. Like downloading
Yeah,
a
'cause, like-
fresh, just end of game save file,
Yeah,
and then
'cause
doing
there are a
every
lot of those
DLC.
kinds of game files.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those kinds of game files out there. I mean, like honestly, if I were to ever play Borderlands again, I'd probably do game file stuff because I already put in like 300 fucking hours in the grinding in that game, and then they launched Mayhem 2.0, and all of my shit was irrelevant. I was like, I'm not putting another 300 hours of grind into this fucking game.
True. Here, let me be right back. I have to be right back.
Sure.
If you want to talk about your school stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, school stuff is, I'm kind of just looking into the avenues of, I am strongly considering trying to switch over to a data analytics related career. There's a few avenues for me to do that. I mean, there's boot camps, and some of these boot camps have like, job guarantee systems in place and whatnot. And from the research I've been doing on like R analytics and stuff and talking to a few people, like the hard part is definitely getting your first entry level position with data analytics because it's such a like saturated like applications. Because there's just so many people trying to transition into it. So I'm just looking at options for that right now. I do definitely think data analytics is a career I would enjoy. And to to be clear on my intentions with this too, I make good money in restaurants. I mean, right now I'm making like 50 to 60K a year, which is not bad, but I've made 6 figures before. I could definitely work towards working at a much nicer spot and easily be making 75 to 90K a year, right? Like money-wise, like this is a good industry, and I have the resume and experience and skills to be very successful in this industry. But going back to work after like the joy of having consistent paychecks again and like doing this work again and like having physical exercise from work and whatnot, and like me being overall happier and my relationship with Jenny being better because it wasn't all the bullshit making me miserable happening anymore with the YouTube stuff. Like after all of that like initial high kind of wore off, I still was feeling unfulfilled. Because like regardless of my financial position and regardless of all that stuff, like server work is not intellectually stimulating for me. Part of the reason I got into YouTube stuff initially was because I was not getting the intellectual stimulation and intellectual demand I wanted from my work. So I ended up, you know, crunching math on video games and optimizing shit in video games to get some of that intellectual stimulation I'm craving all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like the work I do just isn't fulfilling because it's just not intellectually stimulating. So like even me switching over to like, you know, data analytics entry positions are like 45 to 65 depending on the place. So it would be at best the same pay as I have right now, if not worse. And it's definitely worse pay than the kind of pay I could be making if I were to go somewhere else. But like for me, the more important thing is just that I'm not fulfilled doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some people can do restaurant work their entire life and love doing it. One of my coworkers has a master's in effectively medieval history, which is why he still works at restaurants. But he's about to go he's currently opening a new restaurant as a beverage manager for the spot, and he's really enjoying what he's doing, and he really loves that work. I'm not that guy. I don't feel like I could ever be fully fulfilled doing any restaurant kind of work.
Listen, Jinx. You are not the guy.
Yeah. Like, that's just, yeah. That's just not me. I need to be doing something. I'm always going to feel like I'm wasting something by not doing work that makes use of the intelligence I have.
Yeah.
And, like, the reality is that, and I don't even, like, there's a lot of, like, intelligence and, like, your intuition and, like, your social intelligence and emotional intelligence that goes into server work and whatnot. But, like, the more, like, hard, like, the mathematical intelligence I have doesn't get exercised, and I need it to I feel like I need it to for me to feel fulfilled with what I do. So that's why I'm looking into what I want to do. I was originally thinking of going back so for those who don't know, I don't have a bachelor's degree. I dropped out of college my first year due to mental health issues, and then got into club promotions for a while, and then got into restaurant work, then stayed in the restaurant work for a long time, did some consulting work, which is by far the most intellectually stimulating stuff I've ever done in the industry, and then had another spike of mental health issues, went back to restaurant work after I got that resolved, went to a psych hospital for a while and shit. That's when I really started to actually deal with my mental health shit. And then I did YouTube stuff for, like, what was it, 2 years or something?
Mm-hmm.
Then I did YouTube work, and now I'm back at restaurant work again. And so, like, I don't have a bachelor's degree. And originally I was thinking maybe I should go back to school for, like, mathematics or economics bachelor's. But then more recently I've been looking into data analytics and seeing what avenues are available that don't require a degree for me to get into data analytics and data science fields. I don't know. I'm doing research into it. It's interesting. I'm looking at doing some intro learning of my own into the field and developing some of the hard skills and seeing what happens with that. I am in the fortunate case right now where my expenses are relatively low, so it is realistic for me financially to go back to school, to like pursue a 4-year like bachelor's in science in something. It's just a matter of whether that's the best path for me or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'm still figuring. Because, yeah, student loans is a big issue with that. And if I could avoid that, that would be nice. Also, 4 years of my life is a big thing. I'm 28, so, like, 4 years is a much bigger commitment at my age than it would have been if I was still in my early 20s or something. How about computer science? Yeah, I was thinking about, like, the thing is, like, originally I wanted to go back for economics because I find the subject incredibly fascinating, especially because of, like, the Freakonomics guys and their books and their blogs and podcasts and shit. And part of what made me want to go back into, like, a more intellectually stimulating industry is, like, reading about their stuff, being like, man, this is so interesting. I would love to have been able to do this kind of shit if I hadn't fucked up college due to extreme mental health issues when I was younger that were honestly out of my control, but, you know, self-criticism is one of my things I'm working on. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing I've been kind of fucking around with the past week and whatnot and putting some research into and everything and trying to figure shit out. I mean, who knows? Maybe I won't even go back into data specifically. It's just the one that seems the most interesting to me so far and the most viable.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we'll look at things. We'll see how things go. I do want to go into something that is a bit more math focused than just programming focused, because I know I'm good at programming. I've done a decent enough amount of it to know I have a predisposition towards it, which is really important for programming. At least from, you know, discussing with actual programmers, I know it's one of those things that either you get it or you don't. Like, either your brain works that way and you can think in the systems where you need to be a programmer, or you can't. But so I know I can program. I don't really feel like I want to do like full programming, so I'd rather do something with a heavy dose of math in it too, like data analytics or data science.
So my thing with programming and, you know, game design and stuff like that is the same thing I had with architectural engineering, which, you know, I went to school for. It's like, but you're never making the thing you want to make. You're making the thing other people want you to make.
Yeah.
And sometimes other people don't know how to make crap. You know?
Yep.
And you're just sitting there like, this is garbage.
Yep. But you gotta do what the client wants.
Yeah. Gotta do what the client wants.
Yep. That was one of the fun things about consulting, was like, at the end of the day, like, my job was to figure out the problems and then propose solutions and plans to fix the problems. And like, at the end of the day, 90% of the time the client did what we wanted because we had evidence to show this would make things better.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still early in this journey of figuring out what the next stage of my life is. But I wanted to share what little I have thought about with you guys.
My next stage of my life currently is Final Fantasy 14. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. Like, I honestly, what I've thought about doing is creating like some content on the channel for photography.
Ooh, interesting.
You know, just like, you know, and different like tips and tricks on how to like take a good photo. You know, it's like, you know, got here, you know, we got some lineup of this stuff and like using emotes, like cross sections of emotes to create poses that are different than what's just available. Like, for instance, this is in the middle of another emote, but it looks like a pose in and of itself, which, you know, is neat and it's interesting. And I've always liked photography. When I used to do photography for car shows and stuff, you know, it was just always a really interesting aspect, you know, capturing different quirks of people's cars and understanding how lighting bounced off of the frame and, you know, capturing certain light from the different venues and, you know, just the different kinds of things, and just interesting. It was always interesting. And, you know, I did it, I wouldn't call it professionally, but I guess I made money from it. And
yeah,
and just, it's not really a thing I've been able to do recently. My camera, heck, I haven't even used my camera to stream for months at this point, but I don't know. You know, whenever this is over, I have no clue what I would want to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can still always, at least you have the resume to get a job.
Yeah, I mean, I can always
That
go
will
back
pay
into
your-
logistics. Yeah,
Yep, exactly. And like, it's the same thing for me. It's like, no matter what happens, I can always go back to restaurant work. And I can always go back to a well-paying restaurant too. Like, it's not like I have to go back to like a Chili's or something. Like, I have a fine dining resume. I will always be able to find a place that at least pays me 50, I at least make 50K or plus a year.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think that's what some people were confused about when they heard you. Because they were like, you're going to drop the dream job to go work at McDonald's? Like, no, you're not working at McDonald's. You're working at, like, I don't know a famous restaurant, but, like, fancy hoity-toity SpongeBob fine dining and breathing kind of crap. Like,
yeah, at the very least, I work at high-end places. Like, we're talking 20, 30 plus an entree sort of places.
I need you to come to this place that's like $88 for a surf and turf and see if you see if you like it.
Lol. But yeah, I have a career in like high-end restaurants and fine dining restaurants. Like, I have a career in this, so it's a thing I can always go back to. Especially because like it's not uncommon for people to drop out of the industry for a few years or for a while and come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a very common thing. industry.
remember, you're here
Um,
forever.
Yep. And this particular job I'm at right now is it's like an incredibly healthy and supportive environment.
Yeah, it sounds
So
like it.
it would be a really good place for me to work at while I'm pursuing school or certifications or whatever.
Mhm.
Like it's a very good place for me to do that. In fact, one of my coworkers just had his last day yesterday. But I was working with him on Friday. We had a little. It was actually like the first time we really ever talked and had like a heart to heart. But he has a biomed degree, and he's fine. Like he was working the place I was at for 8 years, but he's finally switching careers to he's essentially selling like new blood tests to doctors and hospitals.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of his biomed understanding as well as the sales work from serving. But we were talking about it, and like he was telling me about how like the place I'm at right now is a great place. Like is a great place who will support me while I pursue other things like that.
Yeah.
Like he did that for 8 years over there, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually really surprising. I think I remember when I first started this place, I told you I was so surprised because there's no fucking drama.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I'm not used to that in this industry. There's no fucking drama. The management staff is really solid and really nice and genuinely cares about you. The ownership genuinely cares about you. Like, it is so bizarre for this industry, but it's really nice.
I've only worked at one food place. They say that everybody needs to work at food
Yeah,
service
work,
one
work
time.
service once, yeah.
But from whatever I had experienced, you made it sound like that's the standard in food service. Is like people are really catty. You got like half the people aren't working, and the other people are.
Yep.
If you're
And-
not friendly with everybody, like if you just go in and do your job, like they hate you because you're not chatting about things,
Yep.
gossiping. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's
They
yeah,
fired
it's
me
a
because
really nice
they
place.
said it seemed like I didn't want to be there, even though I came in like when I was behind the counter, like waiting for the next order to go out. I was like very just like kind of sat there, sipping
Yeah.
on my water, sipping on something, and then like as soon as it's like, oh, we'll go bust a table, or oh, go take this food, it's like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? Appreciate you for being here. Can I get you anything? Here's some extra napkins. I saw this order was a little messy. Like taking care of the customers, and I just didn't
Yeah.
chat with them.
Yep.
And
Yep, and it's unfortunate that there's a lot of places where, I mean, in any job there's in-house politics, but in restaurants especially, there's a lot of politics and nepotism that happens. So like a lot of people want you to like hang out and chat and like have a good relationship, and like the people who have a good relationship with the manager definitely get advantage, really speak.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a cool workplace, and it's definitely a place I could see myself being at for a while and working at while pursuing other things, which is really nice. I didn't expect this out of like the first, like it was like my top pick for a place, but basically the reason why I'm working at this place is because I was like thinking about where I wanted to work after I quit YouTube and like all that kind of stuff, and I was talking to my therapist about it, and she suggested this place because like it's where she likes to go, and it seems like a really good environment from what she could tell. And they had like right when I was applying was when they had just started reopening the inside dining because vaccines and stuff were coming through and whatnot. Really hit the industry for a while, and so it was like there's probably gonna be job openings right now over there because they're probably looking for more people. And so I applied, and it was my first choice place, and I got in relatively easily, and it's just been a surprisingly healthy and like very nice work environment.
which I'm really happy about. It would suck
Yeah,
if
thanks.
because I do feel like you felt like you abandoned something.
I mean, I'm still in the process of grieving.
Yeah.
Basically a childhood dream of mine.
Yeah,
like,
and if you had abandoned that only for it to still suck, I would have.
oh yeah, no, definitely. Like, it's really nice to be in like a good place right now, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm still grieving though. I'm still grieving the whole YouTube dream thing. I still think about it sometimes. I still like think about, well, maybe I could go back and do this. I still see like other YouTubers on YouTube pop up and like have pangs of jealousy. And
Yeah,
like not even necessarily because of their success, but because like they seem to enjoy what they're doing, and I wish I could have enjoyed that more.
I've
I wish
honestly started like unfollowing, some of the Genshin creators that I used to be a part of, and started muting them on Twitter because I don't want to like unfollow them because I feel
Yep.
bad. I just, I don't. I don't want to think about this game. You know, it's not a fun time for me, and believe me, I've thought about just spending $1,000 and giving you a VR headset so we can just drop this and just have fun
Well,
in like a VR chat or something. You know, it's and a lot of the stuff that's talked about today, it's come out has been part of the reason why I don't want to be here. Sometimes it's just I don't want to
yeah,
have
dude.
to keep remembering this, and it's why I've tried a different community. I've tried Final Fantasy. I've tried just doing like some other random games like Ghost of Tsushima and stuff. Which is a
Yeah.
fantastic game, but
Yep. Yep. Pretty much. Like, especially today of all days, because of the honey bullshit that's happened today. It's kind of brought up a lot of these feelings again, and me being like, man, I really don't want. I really like. I still enjoy playing Genshin every day, but like, for what little I do play of it, but like, fuck, I
no,
don't. I don't like this community.
yeah. Well, and it's like for me, it's like what I told you is like, I don't, I don't care about the new characters. I've
Yep.
seen what some of the few characters that are coming up are. I like my team. I like my Bennett,
Yep.
Kaza, Rosaria, Kaya team. There's pretty much no other team that plays like that yet, and I just don't care about the new characters. I've already, 36 starred the Abyss many, 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 many times.
Yep.
I've got my current team set up to 90-90, on everything except for I guess Rosaria is missing one level, which here, let's see if we can just cool. Everybody's 90-90 with 90-90 weapons and a bunch of talents, and they're already clearing the Abyss. So what's the point of getting those talents even higher? When I beat the Abyss, I'm getting primos for characters that I don't want, don't need. I'm getting rewards to upgrade characters that are already strong enough to beat everything anyways.
Yep.
And I just
I mean, you
what is the
beat
purpose?
the end game, so none of this shit really matters anymore.
And I just I sit here and I wonder
From a
what
goals
is the
perspective,
purpose?
nothing really
What is
matters.
progressing? What is It's the same thing I got from Monster Hunter. I beat every monster. I had the best possible set. What was the point? What were you grinding for? Nothing. And I just what do you do from there?
Yep.
And
For me, like, I still
here's
enjoy the
another
game
thing is like
personally, but it's the community.
I've been trying to do like we get a new story bit every month, assuming it's
Mhm.
not filler. Like the Hu Tao story, that was filler. Zhongli's story, child story, filler, filler, filler.
Yep.
Ayaka's story, filler. Like I try to come back, when there's new things, but I've been seeing that my follower count drops considerably.
Yep.
Like I'm not stupid, right? Like I'm not blissfully unaware that I'm destroying my channel, but I'm trying to enjoy myself. And
Yep.
if people can't support that, I get it. It's like if your favorite TV station stop playing your favorite show, you're not going to sit there and watch the other crap they have lined up on the 8 o'clock block. You're just going to go find something else to watch. I get it. I'm not stupid, but there's a part of me that really feels hurt that I guess I didn't create a strong enough community that cared about me. They just cared about my opinion on some pixels in a video game, and
Yep.
it hurts. It does. So
Yep. Even when you know that's the reality of the job, because I mean every Twitch streamer who gets some degree of success like knows that's the case, right? If they do variety stuff, they're gonna drop in viewers and followers.
yeah,
But
no,
that doesn't make it hurt any less.
yeah,
Like, knowing that's the case doesn't make it any less shitty.
no, it doesn't make it any less shitty. But
And I'm sorry, buddy.
no, it's and I'm still kind of in that point where maybe it's already over and I just haven't realized it yet, or maybe it's still working just a little bit, and we're grinding through. But I don't know. Well, I'll figure out when I'm gonna. I don't know.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what. So.
Figure out what the future looks like.
Yeah. So
what the
far,
best move
it's
is.
we're still paying bills. I've got some incredibly generous people in my community, and
Yep.
I love them so much for still helping me out, even though I'm not playing the game that they want to play. And I appreciate them so much for giving me the validation as a person that they still like me for me. Because that was always something I struggled with as a kid. Is if I wasn't useful to people, why was I even here? And you and I have talked about that. The plans that I had, and that you saved my life and gave me a purpose. But in a small way, so you gave me a purpose, so I had a reason to live. But
Yeah,
then,
I was about to say,
like,
I still don't.
does that?
Wouldn't say I saved your life, but I did help you find a reason.
Yeah, true.
At
There
the
you
end
go.
of the day, you at the end of the day, like, people can only help themselves.
No, that's
But
true.
I'm happy you're still around.
I'm happy you're still here too.
Yeah. Yeah. Friends. Best friend.
Dude, no, you don't understand. You called me your best friend, and I started bawling my eyes
Yeah.
out, dude.
I mean, like,
I
it's one of
legitimately
those
started crying instantly the second I said
it's
that.
it's
You
one of
said
those
that.
things that makes me wonder if I'm more neurodivergent than I actually am. Because I mean, I have ADHD, but I've at the very least never been tested to be on the autism spectrum. But there are moments like that where I just go like, "Oh, I was sure I had told you I was your best friend, like you were my best friend before. Like I was sure I had said that, and you're like, no." Like, Christ, I can't believe I went this long without ever saying those words to you.
Well, maybe if you, I don't think you did, because like the second I saw it, there was such a
Yeah,
reaction in me that I felt
yeah,
like if you'd said it
exactly.
before, I would have. Because like for
And
me,
like
the
your
only thing
memory
I've
is
ever
more
wanted,
reliable than mine. So.
like legitimately, there was a point in my life where my only goal was to be somebody's best man at a wedding.
Yeah.
I wanted that was like my validation that I had done something in somebody's life, was to be somebody's best man. And I'd also always joked, I have this mole on the back of my left ring finger. So it's right on the top of my last knuckle on my where a wedding band would be.
Yeah.
And I was always says like my goal in life is to be somebody's best friend and get married. And like that was it. And I'm almost 30, 29 and a half, and it wasn't until 29 and a half that somebody said I was their best friend. I was like, damn.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't call you my best friend sooner.
Well,
but
you
I,
don't.
but
Well,
I
you
have,
don't got.
I
You
have,
don't gotta.
well, it's because I felt that way for a long time. Like, Christ, how long have we known each other, and it took me this goddamn long to say those words?
Dude, it's almost been. It's gotta be at least probably 3 years, I think.
Yeah, at least 3 years, if not more.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me. If I chat, if I just say something in my chat, I can see that there's. Okay, so I'm a 34-month subscriber to my own channel, which tells me like I've been streaming for less than 35 months. So I haven't been affiliated for more than 3 years. And I feel like as soon as we made the channel and like I started a Twitch channel immediately afterwards, we got affiliate like pretty rapidly. So I probably around 3 years. Well, hold on. We look up the YouTube channel and we can pull up our video.
Oh yeah, we can pull up the original Cole video right before we met, right before like we started talking about stuff.
Yeah, and if we pull up this and go all the way back down to the very beginning, when you made
Sort by date added oldest.
Okay, I'm already here, but yes, that would have been better.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm doing. All right.
so-
Fastest way to farm coal to Roth. Immediately pause the video so they don't hear Timmy.
No, it would I think because like Easy Peasy Lemon Extremeth was the video that I gave you the tips on how to do it.
True. That's right, because the first two coal videos were when you were basically what triggered you to be like, hey, your production quality sucks. Let me help you fix it.
Yeah. So Easy Peasy Lemon Extremeth was the video that you put out to people and was like, hey, does anybody have any opinions on it? And I was like,
Yeah.
it's bad and you should feel bad. So August 31st. So yeah, it's been over 3 years.
Yep, just over 3 years. Christ.
So September we could call like September 1st or August 31st or whatever.
Yeah, August 31st is our friend-iversary.
Friendiversary.
We both just missed it, Tuner. We gotta wait another 11 months and 2 weeks
Yeah.
for our next friend-iversary.
Jeez.
Oh, goodness. I do love you, though, buddy.
No.
My life is genuinely
Don't make me
enriched for
cry
my
on the
relationship with you.
stream. Don't make me cry on the stream.
I just want to say my life has been genuinely enriched by our relationship.
Oh my god.
Which I think is, you know, probably the most important metric of a friendship.
Yeah, man.
Is how much better is your life, has your life become and been because this person is a part of your life? And if the answer is not, then that's probably a toxic person you don't want in your life anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you don't like to hear it, but I have a life because you helped me. And I mean, I had to come to the conclusion myself, but you pointed me in the right direction. So.
Well, I'm glad I could help, because I like having you around. I like having my best friend around. Okay. Well, apparently. Okay, well. It's been quite a bit over 2 hours at this point, but this was definitely stuff that needed to be said.
Quite a bit. It's only been two hours and 12 minutes.
Oh, true. I think we started the call at like 4. Yeah, we started the call at 4:45 according to Discord, though.
Oh well.
Anyway, though, I'm not crying. You're crying. LOL. But yeah, that's the podcast, everyone. To the 7% of you who have stayed until this very end part, sorry for the feels, or you're welcome for the feels. I don't know.
I put out a tweet the other day that was like just hey man, I don't know who needs to hear this today, but I appreciate you for making it through everything that you've made it through. And I know it wasn't easy. It's never easy for anybody, but I really do appreciate that you're here and that you made it. And you can keep going, keep it up. But
yeah.
Dude, oh God, we didn't even
Life
get to
is
talk about
messy,
Blue's Clues.
Oh, god damn it. We also didn't get to talk about how Jenny and I have been watching Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the first anime, like, we've watched animes together, and I always like recommending animes to her and trying to find ones she likes. But it's always been like when we, like, on my days off or whatnot, I'll suggest that we watch the anime and whatnot. And like, we'll watch it together, and at least until we finish it, or until like Jenny's like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. But this is the first one where she's like actively like, we're gonna watch Full Metal Alchemist tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like the right amount of trauma porn for her.
If you need a pick me up, and you ever need a pick me up, I'm gonna link something in chat. But watch this video on Twitter. It's
LOL.
It's just Steve from Blue's Clues coming back 25 years later. Well, I guess not 25. He left like 20 years ago, but just being like, I don't know. It's really wholesome. It's really great.
Aw. Okay. I will definitely take a look at it.
And
I feel old, but I don't care. Yeah, that's true. Holy fuck. Oh boy.
But yeah. So appreciate everybody. Zaxton, thank you for getting the last timestamps. Appreciate you, man. Again, if you ever want to come into the Twitch channel, T3 is yours. Thank you very much to the patrons who are still patroning.
Yeah. Much appreciated.
Then thank you guys who came in and just hang out on the stream.
Thank you for
And-
the peeps who stuck around from the Jeff's raid.
And thank you to the people who subbed, and we had actually had a $10 tip. Thank you very much, Kuro. I'm sorry I had the notifications off, but thank you for the 10 and thank you for the subs, guys. Appreciate it. So,
Thank you to everyone.
yeah.
And especially thank you to any of you who have been here, who have actually had the chance to like be with us for this entire fucking journey of apparently 3 years now.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Is it better to support us on Twitch or Patreon? Direct tips through like PayPal, like the tip button, are the fastest way to get money into our account, and I think takes the least amount. Patreon obviously takes the least out of like a monthly reoccurring thing. Twitch is quick and simple, and you get emotes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you lose like half of
Yeah, we get less money from Twitch subs, but
half
get
of it
stuff out
goes
of it,
into
so.
Twitch. So.
you get stuff out of it, and we don't do shit for the Patreon, so you don't really get anything out of Patreon.
I need to do something for that, but
You can figure out a stream-related thing for the Patreon, for sure.
yeah. But all right, guys,
All right. Thanks for joining us as always, guys.
appreciate you.
Sorry about the last podcast getting deleted.
Yeah, yeah,
Womp.
that's my fault. But honestly, we had better
okay.
information and stuff.
I was
in
about to say
one
this
too.
time, yeah, this one was better. There was more Raiden information this time around, and
Worthy,
the
thank
last
you for
one.
the 20.
yeah.
Holy crap.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you, Worthy.
Thanks, Dorothy.
I'll play those sounds after. I don't know if they'll get DMCA'd on oh crap. That's a
YouTube, yeah, that's fair.
T3, dang.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
this
but
will
the
probably
sooner
be
we
the
end, the
longest
sooner I can play those notifications.
I was about to say this is the okay. This is the longest that our YouTube thing will or our podcast will have been on YouTube. So let's just say goodbye.
Bye.